Righto, welcome to the boot of my car, and today I'm going to do a back-to-back of my coil and air shock. So here I've got the Vivid Air. I was running that for most of the time that I've owned this bike, and then here I've got a custom tuned Super Deluxe Ultimate, which I was riding prior to the Vivid Air, but then I got it tuned and I haven't switched back since, and that was 4 months ago. Been really happy with both of these shocks actually, but I felt like the custom tuned coil had a slight advantage in control. Plus I paid the money to get it custom tuned, so I just really wanted to use it. But I've never put them back to back against the clock, and that is the mission today. So just done a couple of runs on this one. I did a cider and a fast lap, and now I'm going to go and try and put down a fast lap on this one. I was going to try and do 2 tracks, but it's rainy and drizzly and the consistency of the trails is just not there. So I'm going to do this run and then see if the results are in any way conclusive, and then maybe I'll do a follow-up to this video. So the plan right now is to get a siding lap in on the downhill track, then I'll come up and do a heater, well, moderately hot, and then I'll swap the shock over, and then I'll do a moderately hot run with the coil. And I'll be trying to go quick but controlled, and then we'll see if one is better at carrying speed than the other, or if one's kind of easier to ride than the other. Oh, it's a bit tentative there. That's the cider done. Bike feels real good. There's not a 9-day difference between the two shocks. They feel more similar than they feel different. But if I call out any differences I noticed, first of all, the air sits more stable when you're pedaling like I am now. You notice with the coil, it's like always moving, and this feels like it's not moving right now. I think that's just like seals and stiction more than anything else. And then on the trail, I think I noticed a fraction more bottom out resistance. And the other thing I noticed is I'm getting a little bit more noise and chain slap with the air shock versus the coil. All right, coming out for the second lap, so a flying lap on the air shock. I put down a run now, or try to. And I'm just going to be going at about try to hit like the 80%, but just be nice and smooth and consistent, and then hopefully we might see a bit of a difference from one shock to the other. Oh, terrible. To start that again, that was bad. I went to pre-hop this log, which I've never done before, and my foot came straight out of the pedal, and I nearly buzzed my nuts away. So that's not good. Take 2. Right, that wasn't a terrible run. I think the top was pretty good. Kind of ended up on some lines I didn't intend to, and then I had a bit of a mistake down the bottom where I got bumped offline, but maybe that's a riding mistake, or maybe it will be easier to stay online with the coil. I'm not too sure, but it felt like a pretty decent run anyway, and good enough for this not very scientific test. So go up, swap the shocks over, and see how the coil compares. Oh. Yeah, so I can definitely tell the coils are more active, more lively. That could just be settings, and the ride height's a bit higher as well. I'm a little bit nervous. It's like dropping into a race run. Why don't you guys stop right now, go down to the comments and post if you think this run on the coil is going to be quicker than the air, if the run on the air is going to be quicker than this, or if they're going to be the same. And then we'll compare who got it right and wrong at the end, all right? I think they're going to be very similar. Hopefully I don't get anything weird happen just from switching back and forth between two different feeling shocks. We'll see. Little mistake there, ended up too inside. Feels like it's holding a bit more speed through those compressions. All right, I gotta remember to breathe. Oh. All right, well, I know which run felt quicker, but that run was, I'd say, pretty similar overall to the run on the air in terms of like lines that I meant to hit and like small mistakes. I didn't make a mistake down the bottom that run. I think that was cleaner on this bike. And I did make a mistake up the top just out of the chute. I think I was slower into the rocky chute after the two drops. And then I ended up, when I gapped, I ended up landing a bit too inside on the corner. I couldn't really like rail the berm. And I think that impacts your speed for that next flat section. So I'll head home, head to the cliffs together, and we can see if there really was a difference in those runs. All right, welcome back to the lab, also known as my dining room, and we're going to check out these runs side by side with the Vivid Air on the left and the Coil Shock on the right. So over the log safely this time. I found these corners kind of awkward, but I found it kind of equally awkward in both runs, and it looks confirmed from the clips that I basically rode them at the same speed. Now, I didn't intend to end up on the inside line here, but that's just how it worked out on my air run, so I tried to copy that with the coil run. Into the chute, and this is where I thought I made a mistake with the Coil Shock. I got a bit bounced off line and then was a bit inside through this corner, and I thought that would impact my speed across this traverse, but it doesn't seem to have. Then over these compressions here, I felt like the coil was carrying a lot more speed. Feels like it's holding a bit more speed through those compressions, but that doesn't seem to have been the case. Okay, into the last section, and this is where I made a mistake in my air run. Round this corner, tried to hold the high line, but I got bumped a little bit low, and that compromised my line through this sandy berm. And I think that meant I didn't quite carry as much speed through this very last section as with the coil. Coming into the finish, and the coil takes it, but not by much at all. And that difference is actually only 0.2 of a second, which I would put 100% down to that one mistake, which was quite noticeable in the footage. So pretty inconclusive overall. And I think what's interesting about that is I felt quite a bit faster on the coil. All right, well, I know which run felt quicker. Maybe that's just because it's what I've been riding lately, but I noticed I didn't have to think about it as much, and I felt like I had more front grip just because it was having a slightly higher rear ride height, and that seemed to keep good pressure on the front wheel. With the Vivid, I had to be a little bit more aware of my body movements and make sure I was getting over the front. But I think that's just a familiarity thing and what I've been riding recently, because I didn't feel like that when I used to ride the Vivid. And I could probably get both shocks to feel the same just by adjusting the sag a little bit so they kept a similar dynamic ride height. But as it is, they both felt good in their own right, and I could get used to riding either of them. And as we can see from the footage, they're essentially the same speed. So it's been an interesting test. I think I need to do it again on a longer track, and maybe one that's got a bit more pedaling, because then there might be a bigger separation between one that's better over a longer run or one that potentially pedals a bit better, and maybe a bigger variety of corners too. So that's it for now. I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, head down to the comments, drop a like and a comment before you head off. I'll see you at the next one, and we'll do an updated air versus coil again sometime in the future. Thanks again.